when there was a bit of an economic downturn at the beginning of the year, at the start of the pandemic, and people were getting laid off and people were having to stay home, or people couldn't go do the work that they do. They were thinking, okay, well, what can I do for myself? And that's always the case, dude. Like, I remember the first .com bubble burst. I remember the economic recession in '08. Like, all of these things happened, and my business was fine because I have almost no expenses, right? Like, I could make as little revenue as possible and still be profitable because my business has almost, like, I have a computer and a bit of audio and video gear, yes. Which I already own. I paid for these things already, right? And I think that when you have a business where your margins are super thin, it's hard. Like, if you have a tough month, it's hard. Like, it can be really hard. And I mean, I know not every industry it's possible to have margins like you do in tech, but I still think it's worth considering. Like, how can I put off spending unless it's painful not to spend, so I can keep my margins as high as possible? Because you never know. You never know what's going to happen. Like, if 2020 has taught us anything, it's that something else is around the bend and it's going to mess with us, and things are not going to be the same as they were 50 minutes ago, right? So I think people are starting to see, well, if I have a business that is as lean as it possibly can be, then I can weather these kinds of storms. And for me, it's like 20 years. I've been almost 21 years in business now, and I've weathered a ton of storms. And it's not because I'm smart that I got through it. It's because I spend almost no money. Like, my spending did not increase as my income increased. And so I do as much as I can to save and to make sure that I can cover the things that I don't know that are going to happen in the future. Yeah. Even with the analytics company, it's like we could have a couple customers go viral on the plan that they're on, and we could get an AWS bill that's just ridiculous, and we might not be billing them for another month. And so we have to make sure that we have the margins necessary to deal with these things. We have to hire a couple lawyers in Europe, because we deal with European privacy law a lot. So we have to hire a bunch of lawyers in Europe, and lawyers aren't cheap. European lawyers are also not cheap. So things like that come up, and you don't know that they're going to happen. But when they do happen, you have to be prepared to spend your way out of it if that's what needs to happen.
Yeah, definitely. Do you? It's weird because you're right. This pandemic, I'm like, I've been preparing for this pandemic for 10 years. I'm completely set up to, like, I don't need anyone to do the thing that I do. I just need a camera and an internet connection and some time for myself, and I'm done. I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, so I did fairly well, you know, and I realized that, like, everybody's asking me, like, how do you set up such a weird thing. Like, how do you set up your camera, you know, and, like, what microphone do you use? Because everybody's I'm a weirdo for all this time, right? Like, I sit in a room and talk to myself, essentially, because I'm in front of the camera. I'm the weirdo. All of a sudden, 2020 comes around, and it's like, oh, this is what everybody's doing. Everybody's wanting to look at the camera, the lens, at the thing, you know, which computer, which program, you know, how do you use the thing? All of a sudden, everybody's vlogging.
Yeah, I mean, right? It was funny, too, because at the beginning, I'm like, all of these TV shows that had to go to people's that just had to go to the person's houses, like Jimmy Kimmel and all these late shows, their production quality was worse than, like, Marquise Brownlee.
Yes.
Like, the setup of all the YouTubers that I watch was 1,000 times better than all of these, like, nationally syndicated talk show hosts, which I thought was just hilarious.
Yeah, you know, something interesting right now on the other, you know, the control room for these podcasts. It's also, my brother works at Warner Brothers, and he works in a big TV show, and he's doing it from here. In fact, he's probably doing it right now. He's absolutely not paying attention to this because he's working on his day job right now. So it's weird. We are living in a weird year, but if it teaches anything, is that things can go south so quickly. I mean, none of us were expecting this. This is just unprecedented. No one thought that this fear thing, right? And so you got to be prepared for that, and you got to be lean. That all of a sudden, like, the businesses that value being lean, not having a lot of overhead, are the ones that are going to survive this.
Yeah.
And even maybe thrive.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's the thing. It's like with the even with the business that I run, it was like we've had some of our best months since, and it feels weird to say that, but it's just the way that it's gone because we've made sure that we were as lean as possible from the start. We made sure that our margins were good. We made sure that we provided a ton of value for what we charge our customers. And we made sure that we weren't trying to go after just a few big customers. We tried to, we actively try to get more people on our lower plan because that builds in diversification. So if one customer at $14 a month leaves, it's not that big of a deal. But if we had just gone after like 3 or 4 big customers and one of them canceled, it'd be like, oh, this is like tighten the belt. This is going to be rough. So just in the way that we were kind of thinking about things and the way that we were kind of building out the business, luckily my co-founder read my book and agrees with almost all of it in the book. So it wasn't a hard sell.
That's cool. Yeah. So less baskets is not a good thing. You need to be more diverse. Yeah. That's the thing that I am actively doing this time around that I got my business is like, this is one way to do the thing. This is another little way, and I got one revenue over here. Because then, any of them kind of go south, I'm okay. It's like, but it takes a while to get there. Like, do you worry about the future? One of the biggest things that my worries is that I'm primarily a YouTuber, right? So I create content, and that doesn't make me money. But what does make me money is like affiliate marketing, right? So then I'm like, I teach people how to build stuff. I'm selling a dream, first of all, right? But then it's like a hands-on. It's like, this is a dream. This is where you want to go. Here's how you do it. You build this tiny project, this thing. It's physical goods. It's like battery stuff, And then when I make a video and then 1,000 people go and buy the stuff so they can, and they don't buy it from me. They buy it from Amazon. They buy it from, I'm a member of like affiliate member in all the platforms that can exist, And that it's creating quite a bit of income for me, right? And so the problem is that it all tapers down. Like I make a video and it's really profitable for a few months and then it tapers down to like almost nothing. And so there's always a need to be out there. I need to keep making videos on a weekly basis, 2-3 videos on a weekly basis, and they have to be good. And they have to be out there, so it's a hustle, And so I'm thinking, like, as I get older, like, eventually I'm not gonna feel like doing this. This is all temporary. This is a journey, right? I think most of us, when we're young, we think that we're gonna do one thing, find it, figure it out, and then that's it. We're gonna keep doing that forever. But no one does that. The reality is that, like, we get tired of doing the same thing. Like, I feel one way today, but in 5 years. Ask me again, I'm a completely different person, and the things that I like now might not like them. So that is one of the things that I worry, and I'm like, I need to set up some kind of business that is kind of passive, that is kind of like weird, like this thing, that doesn't depend solely on me, right? And so that's the thing that I'm like setting up right now for the future, to future-proof myself.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I got into software as a service, SaaS, because I'm the same with, like, if I don't write an article every week and send it to my mailing list, nobody's going to buy my books. Nobody's going to, I stop existing after a little bit of time. And so I was like,
less time than we'd like to
exactly.
think, so.
Yeah, right? So I was like, well, I need to do something where, and I think the thing with passive income is it decouples the work you do to the revenue you make. Like for me, like I write a good article, I sell a bunch of books. You make a video, you make a bunch of money off of affiliate marketing. Whereas the passive income side, it's like I can do a bunch of work on software and then it's going to get a couple customers today, but then those customers are going to pay me next month and more are going to show up. And then the next month, more are going to show up. And then eventually I don't need to do content to do that. I don't need to do marketing. I mean, we have a great affiliate program that helps bring in more and more customers. So trying to think of things that, just like you're saying, try to think of things where I don't have to be making things and putting them out with regular cadence all the time. And I think it was funny. I was talking to my co-founder yesterday about retiring. I'm like, when I retire, I don't want to stop working. I just want to stop being a person on the internet. To me, the best thing about retirement would be that I could just sit there, nobody bugs me, and I could just do work. And he's like, you're so weird. But I'm like, I've been on the internet for more than 20 years. Like I've been like a public person on the internet for more than 20 years. I think retirement for me is like, I just don't do that anymore because the company's doing well and I can just like sit and focus on my work. And it sounds weird, but I'm like, that sounds like a cool idea. Like one day, all of my stuff on the internet is just gonna like poof and disappear. And I'm still gonna be there working on my software, but I don't have to talk to anybody. I don't have to do anything. I just kind of have to focus on the things that I want to focus on. And I think that would be kind of interesting.
And then that's whatever it may be, right? You think it's right now software, but maybe you're into cars in 20 years, and that's all you want to do is just build a car or paint a car or drive your car. Yeah. Who knows?
I mean, that's it now anyways. I just like to I like to drive my e-bikes and my cars.